is like a Brita, and more so like the filter of the Brita. So the bad water goes in, uh, and what happens is the Holy Spirit will filter out the bad stuff in that water, and the result is good things are poured out. So you and I are like the shell of the Brita, and you and I are constantly bringing stuff into our lives, whether good or bad. And if we walk in obedience and let Him work in us, then we will be able to pour out the fruit of the Spirit. And what made me think of this picture was this verse found in Exodus chapter 7, the last verse here of the first plagues. And here's the context of the verse that Aaron raised his staff, and the life source, the Nile, and the food in the Nile, and everything is turned to blood. So one commentary says even it's almost like the creation account is now going in reverse, where in the beginning, Genesis 1, the creation was sustained from chaos to order and beauty, and everything was good. And now it's in reverse. The order and beauty that was a flowing river full of life and nutrition and health is now turned into chaos. And that's what happens when we don't follow God. Life of order and beauty is turned into chaos. But here's the issue. What happened was that the Egyptian people didn't see this as a moment of transformation. Instead, they saw this as a moment where they could think up in their own minds a man made solution. They dug around it. In verse 24, it says, "And all the Egyptians dug along the Nile to get drinking water because they could not drink the water of the river." So instead of repenting, they decided, "I'm going to figure it out myself." You ever been there? I certainly have, and still struggle with that every single day. I'm going to figure it out myself. Thank God He's given me two brothers that I meet with every other week that has said, "Hey, man, probably shouldn't do that." Or, "Yeah, that sounds like you're going down the right path," because I struggle with that every day to this day. But they have a man made solution here, the Egyptians, and the text doesn't specify whether this worked. Some commentary said it didn't. I like to think that it did. Why? Because the God that I read in the Bible is a God of mercy and grace. And even for you and me, He provides mercy and grace no matter what. And yes, of course, there's discipline. Yes, of course, there's judgment and justice for the enemy, especially the Egyptians. But God also exudes great mercy and grace. But this moment made me think of transformation and growth in our own lives. And what way did it make me think of this? Well, there's the seasons of transformation will stall if you and I continue to delay filtering God's truth out of our lives. The seasons of transformation and growth in your life and my life will continue to stall if we filter out God's truth in our lives. Another way to say that back half is if we don't filter out the bad stuff in our life that He's trying to tell us to filter out. And for me, I have many, many empty Britas, sadly, in my life, and moments I delayed obedience to God. Things like love your wife anyway through the tough season, love your family anyways, despite how they treat you, forgive them, and trust me. Why aren't you trusting me with this? And that's just Brita after Brita that is just hardened, and I'm not letting Him in, and I'm not letting the Holy Spirit filter out anything. And because of that, me personally, I have not grown. But when I have listened to those things, forgave, loved anyways, what produced was incredibly powerful fruit where not only could I see the transformation in my own life, I could see what it did in their life as well. Remember the words of Jesus, and here's my challenge for you and me today. Remember the words of Jesus. If only you knew what God gives and who it is that is asking you for a drink. This is the woman at the well. You would ask Him, and He would give you life giving water. Other translations say eternal, transformational water. And This is a beautiful scene of where Jesus meets somebody at the well and asks her for a drink. And because of religious tradition, she's shocked that a Hebrew would ask a woman for a drink. But Jesus is putting perspective in order here that this has nothing to do with man. Your solutions aren't good enough. Your traditions aren't good enough. But who is and what is good enough is Jesus Christ and the life-giving water he gives. If you are feeling called to do the right thing, delete that app, set up those boundaries, love anyways, forgive. Don't delay it. Drink from the true source of everlasting water, the Brita of Jesus Christ.